Hello everyone, this is Pal Ponder on Weather coming at you with another update. In this update, we're going to be talking about a historic winter storm with heavy snow, an ice storm, and record cold. So before I do get started, if you do like weather-related content, please subscribe to my channel as I will upload daily updates to keep you ahead of the storm. And I do ask you to share this video with your friends and family on social media. All right, so let's get started. Let's start with the overall watches and warnings. And it is very active out there for a huge chunk of the United States. I mean, look at all the pinks and purples. We got winter storm warnings and watches for the Pacific Northwest. We've got wind advisories for Southern California and in Nevada. We've got sporadic advisories in the Four Corners region. And then all of Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana is covered in winter storm warnings or watchings. I mean, you know it's serious when we got a snow advisory in Brownsville, Texas. Yes, so this is a very dynamic system. This will come up across and winter storm watches all the way into Mississippi, western parts of Tennessee, get into western parts of Kentucky. And then we also have new winter storm watches for Pittsburgh. And we have an ice storm going on right now in Virginia. So we have a lot to talk about. Let's kind of go over the maps and kind of show you the big picture, how all this is going to play out. Here's tomorrow, Valentine's Day, February the 14th. And there's two systems that we're going to go over. And they're predominantly going to follow kind of the same track. The second storm will be slightly north from the first storm. The first storm is going to be pretty dynamic. So that's going to be coming across the Northwest. It's going to set up shop and start dumping some snow into Colorado, Kansas, Nebraska, Missouri, Iowa, Illinois, Indiana. And it'll dump some heavier snow in New Mexico, getting into the panhandle of Texas, into Oklahoma, and start to take a beeline into the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and even snow all the way down to El Paso. I mean, this is sporadic, just maybe 1 to 2 inches, kind of a mixed bag. But yeah, there could be a dusting or two, even snow down in Brownsville where they got that snow advisory. And then I'm still expecting accumulations closer to Houston, getting into kind of a mixed bag on Sunday. As this kind of comes across, we'll have a mixed precipitation of sleet and freezing rain throughout the Houston Metroplex, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, get into western parts of Tennessee, Kentucky, going into West Virginia, all the way up to the Northeast in Pennsylvania. On the Southeast side, where we have that warm front, we're going to be dealing with some flooding issues to the southeast, and even some severe weather for parts of Florida. And I'll show you, the Storm Prediction Center tomorrow has already got a slight risk of damaging winds and some hail in central Florida. So definitely be on the lookout for that. Right along that warm front, we're going to have some severe thunderstorms. As we kind of take you through Monday, this system will really start to get its act together, be dumping some heavier snows into Dallas. We're talking probably 4 to 8 inches. A good chunk of Oklahoma we'll go over the snowfall totals at the end. But yeah, there's going to be some heavier banding. I do feel the snow will reach all the way down to the coast into Corpus, even parts of Brownsville is going to see some snow. And even Houston, I do feel like Houston will see accumulating snow with this event, and more sleet and freezing rain for parts of Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, going into Tennessee. Like I mentioned, for the southeast, where we have that ridge, we're going to be dealing with just predominantly rain for you guys. But yeah, there's going to be a serious ice storm going on into parts of Kentucky again, going into Virginia, and up the coast. We'll have a mixed bag of precipitation from Pennsylvania into New Jersey. And where that baroclinic zone sets up, I mean, we're going to have some very heavy banding setting up into central parts of Arkansas, getting into western parts of Tennessee and Kentucky, and then southern Indiana, going into Columbus, Ohio areas, and even Pittsburgh. Gosh, you're going to be adding to your totals in a big way from this event. Another 6 to 9 inches for you guys up there. And this will continue moving across, where on the backside, this is our second system that's going to be diving down throughout the day on Tuesday. So by Monday, let me kind of just broaden this out. We've been talking about this polar vortex for a long time, and here's kind of the North American view, basically how this is kind of setting up. We got a ridge that's pushing off from the Pacific there, and then on the other side, we also have an Atlantic ridge, and we have a blocking feature up to the north, and we have a ridge developing in Alaska. So it develops that kind of a squeeze play, and that's where we're really setting up shop of some of the coldest air we've seen in decades for the good chunk of the central U.S., and that's extending all the way down to the deep south into Texas, and that's why you're seeing these extremely cold temperatures that are becoming on Monday and Tuesday. So by Tuesday morning, that same system that was over Texas and Oklahoma and Arkansas, that will be traversing to the northeast, and that'll be setting up shop, dumping some heavier snows again for Indiana, Ohio, some very heavy snow, Pittsburgh, like I mentioned, Central PA, upstate New York, getting into portions, so say Rhode Island, getting into Massachusetts and Connecticut, Vermont and New Hampshire, little lighter amounts in Maine. And back behind it, that's our second system that will be coming across by the time Tuesday night rolls around in the same areas that got hit by the first event. But by Tuesday, that's when it kind of like really maxes out over the max of this polar vortex. So you can kind of really kind of see it. I mean, the squeeze play gets even tighter, and it amplifies right over Texas. Some of these anomalies are 40, 50 below normal temperatures, and that's why we're seeing some of the extreme cold filter all the way down to the south. We could be looking at single digits even as far south as Houston. I mean, possibly negative degrees in Dallas. It's never done that since 1989. And even parts of, all of Oklahoma, probably below zero. Arkansas, parts of Arkansas below zero. I mean, all these areas are going to be below zero. Some of the coldest air you've experienced. Some of these records go back to, going to be broken back from 1905. So we're talking 120 plus years records being broken from this event. So this is definitely an historic event. I mean, you can really see the funnel effect from the Siberian Express. Here's the feels like temperatures. All these in green are below zero feels like. And so look at the transverse banding. I mean, look at that. You can almost draw a line all the way from the Arctic, all the way down to the deep south, and then boom, comes back up. And then warm on the south side as the ridges press. As you see how it presses? So that's where we're going to see that just really expand and deepening. And that's when we can see those 40 and 50 below zero wind chill factors, and even minus 20 in Oklahoma, even some minus 20s, even dipping down to the Panhandle and into Dallas, and even below zero feels likes all the way into Houston. So this is an extreme event and something they have not seen in many years. And it's like pipe busting weather. So that's by the time we get into Tuesday night, and this will be 0Z is Tuesday night, February the 16th. That first system will be lifting off into the northeast, ringing out some of that snow showers for the northeast. But we'll already be looking on the backside of that second system, really setting up, coming off the northwest flow, dumping some heavier snows. I think where that ridge builds in, I think you'll be done with the snow in Seattle. You'll be done with the snow in Portland by then, but the snow will be pushing further inland and dumping the heavier snows over the mountain regions, diving down through Colorado into New Mexico, and then again setting up shop. And this storm could actually be even stronger than the first storm. So this will dive down by Tuesday night into the Panhandle of Texas, dumping some more heavy snow for Oklahoma. And as we go throughout the day on Wednesday, going into Wednesday morning, this is Wednesday morning at noon on February the 17th. I think that's when it really starts to max out over portions of Oklahoma, North Texas, and there's going to be a sharp gradient of this storm like really diving down and lifting up. So we could set up a really severe ice storm by then, probably in East Texas, and some very heavy banding setting up somewhere near the Dallas-Fort Worth area and maybe just east of the Dallas-Fort Worth area. But some of these places could get some very heavy snowfall totals out of this. But this won't go as far south as the first event as we continue moving across, and it won't, like I mentioned, it won't even go as far southeast as the first event, because this low cuts up a little bit further inland than the first low. But we're going to be dealing with those freezing rain again in northern parts of Louisiana, getting into portions of Arkansas, Mississippi, going into Tennessee and Kentucky again with more ice for you guys. And you can really start to see that banding, that snow really starts to press, as we'll still be dealing with that Arctic air still in place. I mean, this is by Thursday, February the 18th. And so this Arctic air does not go anywhere. It hangs around all week long. So it's going to be frigid for an extended period of time as this continues to press further south. More snow for central Texas. Places like Austin will see snow. San Antonio will see snow out of this. And then we'll have freezing rain on the south side up again to Tennessee and Kentucky going in. And then on the north side into Arkansas, into portions of Missouri, into Indiana, into Ohio, you'll see more snow, and again, more snow for Pittsburgh. I mean, I honestly feel like by the time this event's over, you'll have like 60 inches in Pittsburgh. I think the all-time record is 82. So, and we still have the entire month of March to go. So it's a snowy time, and we're gonna be adding to those totals. But down to the southeast, and that's where we got our flooding concerns. We could be looking at 1, 2, anywhere from 3 to 4 inches in parts of the southeast, from Georgia to the South Carolina to North Carolina, as that ridge kind of builds in to the southeast. So, but as this system continues moving across, this is 6 o'clock on Thursday, February the 18th. This will continue dumping some more heavy snow in a lot of the same areas I got the first band. And so some of these snowfall totals are going to be really impressive from this event as this continues lifting off to the northeast and kind of wringing itself out. And yet we have another system on the backside. But look at this, look at the anomalies. Even by Friday, February the 19th, that colder air sticks around even by then, guys. And so you can see the Pacific Ridge is really starting to build into the Pacific. So we start to warm up off into the northwest. We start to warm up into the east. But again, over the central part of the U.S., that colder anomaly temperatures of that polar vortex kind of really locks in. That's going to be in place all week long with well below average temperatures for lasting for an extended period of time. Some of these places could be below freezing for a week or two, if not more, the further north you live. So let's go over some of the snowfall totals. This is from the Pacific Northwest. You can see we'll probably have a little bit more snow for places like, say, Seattle, maybe an inch or two. But it's kind of ending in Portland. But as that ridge builds, that snow will push inland. So yeah, some heavier amounts in the mountains. We got sporadic 1 to 2 feet. And portions of Washington, get into Oregon, into Idaho, and this will continue moving across with that banding into Utah, into New Mexico. Let's look at the central U.S. So that's where it gets like really tricky. So on a normal ratio, it would be about a 10-to-1 ratio, meaning if it rains an inch, then it would snow about 10 inches. So this would be on a normal 10-to-1 ratio. And that's actually pretty impressive. I mean, we got 8 to 10 inches. I mean, 8 to 10 inches over a good chunk. I mean, look at this band. It's really impressive. 12 to 18 inches. But the problem is with Arctic air in place over the central U.S., we could be looking at 15, 18, 20-to-1 ratio. So probably the more realistic one to use is that 20-to-1 ratio. And yeah, that's when we could see some very heavy snowfall totals change in a big way, where it was just maybe 0.3 inches. Now we're at 1.5 in places like Nebraska. See, it changes in a big way. If you just the same amount of liquid, but it's just going to be a more of a powdery, kind of a ski resort type snow versus kind of a heavy snow globe type snow that you might be used to in these areas where it just doesn't get that cold. But this is Arctic air. This is something that you don't really normally see as this continues moving across. So yeah, that snow will go all the way down into Houston, where you could even get, this is accumulating snow, so it's not out of the question. You can still see snow in Brownsville and even El Paso and even down here to the coast to McAllen. But yeah, 8 to 12 inches is probably a good number in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, down to 4 to 5, and to Austin, even snow into San Antonio, 1 to 2 inches right around the Houston Metroplex on the south side. On the north side, definitely heavier amounts. Places like Huntsville, you could be picking up 8 to 10 inches. Conroe, College Stations, higher amounts. East Texas, definitely higher amounts. Oklahoma, we could be talking 12 to 20 inches is not out of the question. Arkansas, anywhere again, 12, 18 inches is not out of the question. Arkansas, Central Missouri, 10 to 8 to 10 inches is not out of the question. And Central Missouri, as this continues moving across, and like I said, where that banding sets up, that's when we can receive some really amped totals in these areas of portions of Mississippi, going into western parts of Tennessee, and then going into western parts of Kentucky, and then portions of Indiana, going into Ohio, even into Cleveland as this continues lifting off. And now we'll break it down back to the 10-to-1 ratio, because you won't be dealing with the Arctic air here, but still very impressive snowfall totals, like I mentioned, of a foot plus probably in Pittsburgh, what those two events, maybe 6 to 9 from the first event, and some more on Wednesday and Thursday. But look at the gradient of where this sharp cutoff is. You might pick up some in Washington, D.C., but yeah, the sharp gradient would be in northern portions of New Jersey, getting into Philly with 4 to 6 inches, and then very heavier amounts of 8 to 10, if not over a foot, in upstate New York, Scranton, into Albany, going into portions of Massachusetts, into Connecticut, some heavier amounts. Portions into even the Cape was not going to escape this one. You'll still get some snow out of this deal. Even into Long Island, you'll get some snow, but definitely heavier amounts into Vermont and New Hampshire, getting into portions of Maine from this event. But also we're going to be dealing with the ice. And here's the sleet. The further south you live, the more sleet you're going to be dealing with off this banding right here, where that baroclinic zone with those two systems that are going to be coming across. And also, unfortunately, the freezing rain. So you're going to be dealing with snow, sleet, and freezing rain from this event. So it's just going to be an ice rink for an extended period of time in parts of the South, into Louisiana, and the Mississippi, and portions of, again, Tennessee and Kentucky, where they just been hit hard with ice. And then more snow, more ice for Virginia, getting into West Virginia, and all up the coast in the Northeast. And here's your liquid. So like I mentioned, we could be getting anywhere from 1, 2, 3 to 4 inches of rain on the southeast, or some heavier. That's where that warm front is going to be coming into play. And then that strong northwest flow from the Pacific Northwest is going to be dumping some heavier, and then just dry as a bell in California. There's not much going on in California. And then getting into portions of Phoenix again, where they've been seeing some very, very warm temperatures out there. So, hey, I appreciate you guys watching. Do like this video. Definitely leave your comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel to catch the latest update where I protect you before and after the storm.